When we talk about growing good business, what we mean is we want to have businesses that are commercially successful, but we also want to have businesses that do good in the communities and in the markets that they operate.
As the second largest employer in Ireland, Musgrave Group impacts the lives of a lot of people. The business supports over 41,000 jobs and feeds 1 in every 3 people on the island of Ireland. Musgrave operates in a very competitive space, but for Group CEO Noel Keely, playing fair is the key to real success.
Well, anybody who knows me will tell you I don't do second particularly well. We need to aim to win, but we need to aim to win in the right way. I'm not interested in short-term success, and neither indeed are the Musgrave family.
Welcome to Growing Good Business, a podcast series by Musgrave. My name is Patrick Haughey, and in this series we go behind the scenes of this iconic 147-year-old family business, which today leads 15 market-leading brands, including SuperValu, Centra, Frank and Honest and Musgrave Marketplace. Since Musgrave began life almost 150 years ago, the company has developed a very unique business model that sets it apart from its competitors.
We have a model whereby the retailer operates the stores because we believe that they're best equipped to do that in their local communities, and we do everything else. We think of ourselves as a family business that supports thousands of other family businesses.
And in this, the very first episode of Growing Good Business, we'll find out what this unique partnership means in practice from CEO Noel Keely and also Yvonne O'Mara, the second-generation owner of one of Ireland's very first SuperValus.
What do Musgraves give you? They give you support, they give you the know-how, they allow you to develop, and they keep pushing you forward.
And we will also meet Anne Rigney, Musgrave Director of Talent, Learning and Development, who knows firsthand what it takes to run a successful family business, but who can also see those same entrepreneurial qualities displayed every day by her colleagues.
These are people that see futures, see things differently, have the courage to go after it, have the passion. That's what an entrepreneur is all about. And they are everywhere in life. They're not just people that are running their own businesses. Many of them I work alongside every single day in Musgrave.
But we are going to start this episode by setting the scene and hearing how it all began for Musgrave almost 150 years ago, and how the company grew into what it is today.
Well, it's an extraordinary company, really. It's 147 years old now, and soon to be 150, which is a huge milestone for a family-owned business that's now going into its 6th generation of ownership. It began as a small retail shop in Cork, in Cornmarket Street, and progressed there to become a regional wholesaler, predominantly in the region of Munster. And in those days it was common to be in the tea business. Musgrave had a significant tea business, but it also at one point owned the Metropole Hotel. It had a sweet factory. As many businesses in that era tended to diversify into other areas. I think the big kind of watershed moment, or the first big watershed moment for Musgrave, was the introduction of cash and carry in the late 60s, which gave Ireland a new concept in terms of wholesaling, and something that the then managing director, chief executive Hugh McKeown had seen on the continent and believed that it was likely to be the next big thing when it came to grocery wholesaling. And it was for a short period of time, until the multiples entered the Irish market, and that resulted in independent retail coming under a lot of pressure from large corporates in the same way as it is today. And the response from Musgrave was, again, I think, another watershed moment in the sense of developing the SuperValu and Centra brands and encouraging retailers to behave more like a multiple operator under a brand. And that has been hugely successful and remains hugely successful to this day. Since that, our traditional wholesaler cash and carry business has transformed itself also into a modern day food service business, which has both a collect deliver in terms of the cash and carries, or what we now call food emporiums, but also a significant delivered business as well. And it has become a leading force in the Irish wholesale market. So Musgrave now can proudly say that it's the biggest food distributor on the island of Ireland.
Hello, my name is Yvonne O'Mara and I am the proud owner of SuperValu Portumna in County Galway. So yes, we're standing at the main entrance to SuperValu Portumna. So as part of the revamp, when you come in to get your trolley, I kind of wanted to do something different, and I kind of wanted to bring a nice picture or something visual. So when the customers come in, we decided to get a beautiful mural by Paul Murphy Painting here in at the Trolley Bay. And it's what's really, really nice about it. It kind of brings in a lot of what the community of Portumna is known for. So you can see the two churches, the lovely castle, and you also have the River Shannon. And then we've got some lovely pictures of butchers and bakers and all the beautiful fruit and veg. And we also have a nice shout out to the Tidy Towns. And we also have Podtumna, who is Portumna is a fabulous town. I've been very lucky to grow up in it. I'm 41 years of age. While I did move away for a number of years, I'm delighted to be back here and raising my own family. My dad left home at the age of 15 and moved to Dublin, and he worked as a barman, and he also went to college at night time and trained as an insurance broker. And he met my mum along the way, and my dad, I suppose, always wanted to get back to the countryside out of Dublin, and a great opportunity came up to buy the pub, which was actually also named O'Mara's. So I'd say it was a sign for him to go after it. And so Dad was working very hard in the pub, and I think a couple of seasons in, 6 German tourists came into the pub, and they looked for, I think it was a Sunday evening, and they looked for Irish coffees, and 6 Irish coffees, and my dad was like, yes, no problem, I'll make those for you. And he went out to get the cream and realised there was no cream. So anyways, he got my mum and to run uptown and see could they get cream, and there was nowhere open. So I think that was kind of the start of the seed in his head that he would like to develop a little grocery shop. So he took the brave step, and he started out with one of the first VG stores, and that was back in 1978. And then in 1988 he decided it just wasn't big enough, and he had bigger ambitious plans to bring, you know, the best supermarket to the community of Portumna. He levelled the store and built an 8,000 square foot SuperValu, and we were actually one of the first SuperValu stores in the country. And here we are 42 years later with a beautiful SuperValu and a great journey in between. Yeah, it was a very busy household, but I suppose we knew no different. And I suppose my parents' ethos was like, you know, to deliver the best, and they were just really hard-working people. But we always loved Sundays because my dad would take a couple of hours off on Sunday and bring us for lunch. And that was a really nice time because, you know, we'd go out for lunch and sit around a table, and, you know, while it was very busy, it was really, really nice memory for us. And I suppose that's what I've grown up with, you know, listening to my parents, and they've always strived to, you know, my dad was always on the lookout to see what would be the next business he could undertake and what would be the next thing he could do. So at one stage, Donny had a Bookies, the Barn restaurant, the SuperValu. My mum had a clothes shop. My dad also was a great salesman, so he continued to sell insurance policies, and he also, I suppose, he loved his farm. He had a small farm holding as well, and very enjoyable. But my dad was a great provider, and my mum was always there for us. We had a great childhood. Busy childhood, but very good. And I suppose what's interesting as well is that my dad ensured that we all worked as well. You know, so when we got to the ages of 13, 14, 15, we either worked in the pub or worked our Saturdays in the SuperValu. You'd be maybe helping pack at the tills, or you might be putting out the bread, or you'd probably be getting in some of the older staff's way. But like, they were just lovely, and, you know, they were very good to us, and like, we are are a real family here. Like some of our team are here 30, 40 years and, they really are. They're great friends and a great family. And I suppose it gave me a real understanding of the value and the purpose of life and the value of money and the value of, serving and understanding the business. So I suppose you could say it's in my DNA and it's been rooted in me how important it is. There's my manager, John.
Oh yeah,
it's great.
Good to see you again.
You're here a few years yourself?
Here 36 years this year, so it's been a long time.
Do you remember Yvonne when she was a little nipper running around the floor?
Absolutely, yeah. And looking back on it, you could see probably back then you never thought to get to today where she is today. And she should be very proud of that. But I think that goes back to her grounding with her dad and mum. And it's given us what we have today.
And so you would have worked with Donny for quite a long time?
Exactly, yeah. I came in here and as a kid, basically. So learned from the ropes the whole way up and seen the transition really to where it is today.
What do you need to do well as a store manager?
I think communicate. If you can communicate well. So in other words, be clear with your messaging, be consistent with your messaging. And really, as Yvonne will tell you, it comes from the top down. So if it works from the top down, it embeds a culture. And that's what you want to do. If you get that culture right, it grows.
Yeah. And so what is that culture? Is that just the feeling of working here, or is it just standards and excellence?
It's a combination of all, but it's built on community, I suppose. If you build on community and you keep standards, you look after people. That was always Donny and Mary's bedrock. Basically, look after the customer. Give them what they want, they'll come, look after them, and they'll come back. That's the basis of it.
Simple words, hard to execute.
Exactly, and probably more challenging nowadays. We've seen a lot of transitions, like we've seen recessions, we've seen COVID, we've seen all that, but that's probably made us stronger in the sense of we've learned as we've come along. We've built on that, and again, that's where you see today, that's what you see here today. But again, that you need somebody like Yvonne, a new generation with new ideas and new ways of working coming in, but also the ambition to take the risk, because in the environment we're in, it's difficult to take that risk. It's a huge risk. Yvonne is a young family, developing in Portumna, coming back to Portumna from being abroad, come back, make your foundations, get to know your customers, start building again.
We had a wonderful doctor who joined us, Dr. Ahmed, and when my father passed away in December, his daughter, who lives in San Francisco, sent me a beautiful letter, and within that letter she just told me a lovely story about my father, and it was just to say to us that when her father first moved to Portumna, he couldn't get spices, he couldn't get chili or ginger or garlic, and my dad went out of his way. He drove up to Dublin and he ensured that, they were available for her father. And she just said it was such a special time and a special moment. And I suppose what she said to me was it just epitomised how Donny really looked after everyone in the community. And if you wanted a certain product, he made sure to get it for you. And it was just absolutely lovely to hear that story. And it did bring a tear to my eye because I suppose it just showed the man and the quality of a man that he was. And, for him, it was customer service was everything.
What Yvonne's father, Donny, did for that customer is an example of what we might call purpose in practice. Caring for customers and communities and making sure that they have the products they want at a price they're willing to pay is at the heart of what Musgrave does every day. That sense of purpose is very much woven into the fabric of the business. And this really became apparent during the COVID pandemic, when it was clear just how essential a service Musgrave was providing. Noel Keeley explains.
The pandemic probably brought out the best in that context of people being able to understand that bigger purpose of what they do. Because, while everybody else stayed home, including myself as an office-based employee, colleagues who worked on the front line had to go to work every day. They had to go and work in a store. They had to go and work in a warehouse. They had to go and drive a truck. And without them, we wouldn't have been able to get through the pandemic, because what we realised during that time, something we always knew but perhaps just brought it to more clarity for everybody, was the purpose of our business around actually being an integral part of the food supply chain on the island of Ireland. And our biggest priority became keeping that food supply chain clean and open so that people could have access to food. And that's really what we did during that time. We made sure that people had access to food as opposed to worked in supermarkets. And I think people really got a sense of the value of the importance of what they do.
Yeah, but even the way you put it there, just our role is to make sure people have access to food. That's the kind of communication that really cuts through and lands no matter what your role is within that 40,000 people. Everyone can understand that.
Indeed. And I think that's the key, is that, at the end of the day, if we look at the language as we describe our purpose, growing good business, they're words that people will generally understand. There's not a lot of corporate jargon in there. If we look at our values, they're very plain, simple words. Honesty, everybody knows what that means. Everybody knows what achievement, working hard means. Everybody knows what long-term stable relationships are about, and everybody knows what not being greedy is about.
When I first came back to the business 10 years ago, my dad rang me and I was actually living in Manchester working for Kellogg's. And I suppose that job had really set me up for coming back to the business. I didn't actually know I was going to come back to the business. But that job was amazing because I had learned a lot about understanding accountancy, marketing, and also reporting.
Was that a phone call to start the conversation about coming home?
That's correct, yeah. And, it's funny, I wasn't expecting it. I don't know why. Like, I suppose I had forged my own career with Kellogg's, and Kellogg's were absolutely wonderful to work for, and I really enjoyed the city life. But something clicked in me, and I said, do you know what, I'm going to take this on. I'm going to come home and support him. Unfortunately, my mum had just passed away a couple of months previously, and I suppose my dad was probably thinking about succession planning, and I suppose he probably thought I was the right fit for the business. And it was quite funny because when I was working in Kellogg's, I had a lovely company car, top of the range Audi. And then I said, Tony, now, like, you'll have to provide me with a company car. And he had went to Al Hayes, our local dealership here, and got me a lovely Golf. And, it was very funny, like, and, he was really trying to do his best to support me in my journey coming home. And look, we had some tough days when I did come home because we're very different people, and like I was used to probably the corporate world and having meetings and they would start on time, and you wouldn't be trailing off, you would have but look, I was very lucky to come back. And
did it take time to think? Did you, once the phone went down, what went through your head then? Were you like, Did you have it in your gut that, I think this is right? Or did it take some time to... It
probably took a bit of time for sure. Because, well, do you know what's kind of funny is that my dad was... never really retired, he passed away when he was 71 and he was working up to the age of 70, but he was great. Like the first couple of years, we supported each other, and he would have been in and out of the business. Like God, he'd be here at 6 o'clock in the morning, and he was a great confidant and somebody I could go and ask. And, Donny was very shrewd, very sharp, and he would spot anything on the store if something had moved, or if something wasn't happening, and customers would go in and tell him straight. So it was really good. But then in the latter few years, he knew I was able to take it on, and it made me very proud. Yeah. And I'd go in because Donny was still working in the Barn restaurant, and I'd always go in maybe on a Friday, and we'd have lunch together quite a lot. So, it was actually, I suppose now that I think about it, I was very lucky for the 10 years I had when I've come home, because I'd lovely time with my father. We had spent, I think, about 3 years planning this revamp, and the revamp has been absolutely amazing, and it's something I'm really, really proud of. And I'm really proud of as well that my dad actually got to cut the ribbon and open it in December, and that fills me with a lot of happiness.
When you're walking through the store like this, Yvonne, are you constantly, are you watching everything?
Yes, I'm looking to see what way things are merchandised. Is there any obstructions on the floor? Can we make any further improvements? I'm looking, a lot of my customers always love to say hello, so you have to have a quick hello for them. And I suppose I'm very focused when I'm on the floor.
I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah, they probably light up, and I'm thinking about all the different things that we have to do. But that's the nature of being in retail. It's fast paced, but I love fast paced, so it's good.
And do you watch people, when you're walking around the floor, do you by habit automatically watch people, how they're interacting with the product, what they're looking at?
Yes, absolutely. Well, you can see them smelling it, and you can see them, putting different items into their trolley. And I suppose what I love to see is that they can see the colour, the vibrancy of our food, and number one, the quality. In particular, our meat is absolutely excellent, and I suppose we have a vast arrangement of products, and they'll get lots of choice here, and that's important for me because it's nice to keep chopping and changing your what foods you like. People always have 3 or 4 regular meals that they cook, but then it's about encouraging them to maybe step out the comfort zone and maybe cook something slightly different, or just giving them something slightly different to taste and to include in what they're eating.
So we have long-term relationships with our retail partners. We're prepared to invest in our brands. We expect our retail partners to be prepared to invest in their businesses. And as a consequence of that, by working together, we both benefit. And we like to think, and I believe we do, it's for the benefit of local communities as well, where many of our retailers contribute significantly within the community they trade in, supporting local clubs, supporting local charities, many supporting tidy towns, which is something that we've been associated now for almost 30 years and something that we're very proud of.
I would imagine that honest and open communication is also a mark of a good partnership, because there's going to be times where conversations need to be had about how business is done and making sure that everyone is on the same page. So is that communication very important?
It is. I mean, look, let's be honest, if you'll pardon the pun. Honesty is the basis of any long-term relationship. And relationships only work if they're mutually beneficial, if both parties get something from the relationship. So as a consequence of that, we challenge each other respectively, I think is the right way to describe our relationship. So retailers, and rightly so, will challenge us to make sure that our offer is relevant to today's consumer, and that we're pushing from the point of view of innovating our offer and evolving our offer for the modern consumer. We then, in return, will challenge our retailers to make sure that offer is executed to world-class standards. And I don't, that's very deliberate language as well. And, we have world-class brands. We want to be a world-class business. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is we have no choice. We are up against some of the biggest and best retailers in the world, powerhouses of food retail. The second reason is we believe we are world-class. People come from all over the world to see what Musgrave have done, particularly in the space of convenience retailing. Centra, as an example, has won the best convenience brand in the world, not once, but twice, with the National Association of Convenience Stores in the US, which is kind of the Oscars of convenience retailing. So we have to be the best that we can be. And that means that Musgrave has to do what it needs to do and make sure that we meet the challenge of the consumer and indeed our retail partners. And then our retailers need to do what they need to do in terms of world-class execution to meet the expectations of consumers.
In order to best meet the challenges of consumers, retail partners and suppliers, it's important that Musgrave colleagues really understand what those challenges are and have a clear picture of the journey that they're on. Entrepreneurs are part of the Musgrave DNA. They're passionate about businesses supporting other businesses across retail, in wholesale and food service, but also in their people, their colleagues. Anne Rigney is Director of Talent, Learning and Development at Musgrave. And this is something she really understands and feels strongly about.
I grew up as part of a family business, so I know the hard work that goes into being part of a family business, and I also know the great satisfaction. The family business I grew up in, interestingly, was a car sales business, and I actually am married to a dairy farmer, so I'm married into a family business. So I'm surrounded by family businesses.
And there's something unique about a family business versus a standard business, let's say.
There is, for sure.
What is it? It's just everyone's involved.
I think in a family business, it is family. And there's no difference between business and personal. It's all the one. And I think, I think there's a lot of value in that. When you're working as part of the family business, topics that happen in the business are discussed at home. Everybody's part of it. Everybody shares in the successes. Everybody hears about the challenges. And I think there's a lot in that.
There's a huge amount of entrepreneurship within Musgrave in terms of all those entrepreneurs that the group partners with. But sometimes do you think people just see entrepreneurs and then they see employees? But is there not more crossover? Can employees have all the qualities of entrepreneurs, and is that where you want to get them to?
100%. And the amount of entrepreneurs that I work alongside every single day, these are people that see futures, see things differently, have the courage to go after it, have the passion to be able to put energy into achieving their ambitions, to have the resilience to be able to pick themselves up when things don't go exactly according to plan. That's what an entrepreneur is all about. And they are everywhere in life. They're not just people that are running their own businesses. Many of them I work alongside every single day in Musgrave. And there's a lot of energy that comes from that type of person, and their drive and their passion and their ability to inspire other people, the way they lead authentically is just powerful to be around. So for me, working in an organisation like Musgrave, that is the largest private family-owned organisation in Ireland, with so many business entrepreneurs, so many retailers that own and operate their own businesses in local communities, I think I've a great passion for what they do. And I think that's probably the biggest attribute that I bring, that and knowing the value of hard work and doing the right thing, I think is really something that probably one of the biggest attributes I bring to the organisation.
Finally, on this episode, we're going to go back to Yvonne O'Mara from SuperValu Portumna to learn a little bit more about what being in partnership with SuperValu means on a very practical level. She recalls various events organised by SuperValu that her father would go to in order to meet and learn from his industry peers.
Well, it probably wasn't called the word, but it was a networking event for all of these retailers and Musgrave as a brand to come together and to spend time and develop the retailers and the relationship. And they would continuously be going around to each other's shop and be like, yeah, I want to be bigger and better, and how can I improve? And they'd learn from each other, and there was a great friendship, and they could ring each other if they had a problem, or, it was really, really good. And then in 2008, my dad further redeveloped the entire site and built a 15,000 square foot SuperValu, which was, absolutely beautiful and, really, really good.
When you want to expand like that, and when you want to stay very much on trend, what are the things that being part of a bigger group like Musgrave actually gives you? What would you get from that partnership that you wouldn't get if you were independent?
Experience and knowledge, and SuperValu are the best retailers in the country. Our stores are really, really good, and our ethos is obviously all on fresh food. But what do Musgraves give you? They give you support, they give you the know-how, they allow you to develop, and they push you, they keep pushing you forward. They have this great competition store of the year, and it's something that we'll be hoping to continue to try and win someday. And that's great camaraderie with all of the other retailers, because it keeps pushing you. And we've some amazing SuperValu neighbours, and they're brilliant, and I suppose we would look at them and drive up and around the country and see the stores that have won store of the year. And, in my vision is to absolutely, and they're great, cause you can call them up or ring them if you have any questions, and how did you do this, and how can I improve, or, what trends are you seeing in the city centre, and what's the next trend that I should be bringing to my store. For me, it's about continuous learning and improvement and working in the business, and how can we keep improving our service, keep improving our product, keep improving our offering to the community. And that's what locks in your customers. You can't go stale. You have to keep looking forward. We have a Net Promoter Score, so customers can, I suppose, tell you what they do and they don't like. But just there 2 months ago, we actually had the highest Net Promoter Score in Ireland for SuperValu. So that was really, really positive. And it was great to say that to the team. And sometimes when you're reading all the lovely comments, it kind of fills you with happiness to know that you're doing a really, really good job. And that, I suppose, number one thing that shines through is my team. And you'll see the comments oh, this person helped me out to the car, this person went and got something, this person actually just spoke to me, and you know what I mean, and then this person showed me a better option. Or if they went to the butcher's and they said, I have X amount to spend and I need to feed 6 people, what can you give me? And it's really, really nice.
Over your shoulder there is a
Yes.
photo. Is that your dad?
It's my dad. Actually, yeah, Donny was Lord Mayor of the town as well for a long time, something he was very, very proud of. And yeah, it's a lovely picture and it'll always be there. And my mum as well, yeah.
So he's watching over you.
He's watching
as you
over.
sit at your desk. Yeah,
yes,
always.
absolutely, yeah.
And maybe in 20, 30 years time, whatever it might be, would you like to picture your photo on that wall and one of your girls sitting in the chair
I
you're
would.
in now?
I absolutely would. Look, it's up to them to make that decision, but I will do everything in my power to support them if they'd like to come into the business. But of course, yeah, I would love to see a third generation here.
Thanks for listening to episode 1 of Growing Good Business. Thanks to Yvonne O'Mara, Anne Rigney, Noel Keeley and John Daly for taking part. Please follow the series on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. And I hope you can join us on the next episode.